right, welcome to this show. It's a very bright morning at this moment, whether maybe because of the changes in climate right now. We have received some drizzling early this morning, and in Westnile region, that's how we feel it now. It's a bit chilly, although it is bright. There are so many things that are happening in this region, also within the country and elsewhere. We will be discussing some of these things. First of all, my name is Dramadu Frederick, hosting you in this show today. This is the first month of September 2023. We'll be driving this up to the hour of 9 a.m. That will answer us to the news in Lubarati. It is already 20 minutes to 8 a.m. here on Weatherhead Park Lane. This is Westnile TV that you are watching at this moment. But also, for those who are watching us within Arua City, we say thank you very much for really always sticking to this television that is stationed at your place, and also that is there to light up the region. And also we have people who are watching us in Arua district, those in I would say Terego district, Madiokolo, Maracha, Koboko. We welcome all of you. Those in Obungi, those in Yumpe, and those in Adjumani and also Moyo, we welcome you so much. We are privileged to honor your presence and also your participation in this show, that we are able to discuss all that issues that are really affecting us, and also what we have achieved so far. Those are the things we want to discuss in this show, and also really how best we can unite to bring development into this region that has been lagging behind in the country in terms of people not really participating actively in eradicating poverty, and also really fighting illiteracy cases that have been on the rise in the recent year, in the past years, and so on. So we have a lot to do as communities and also the stakeholders together to eliminate some of these vices that really pin our people down to poverty level. But we are all aware that there are so many programs that are coming into this region, and we are glad that people are taking them positively. One of the issues from Wacholi, maybe I'll start with the Aluru sub-region, that is in Zompo. We this morning received an information about the arrest of the leaders of Emioga Sako in Zombo district. That was just because those particulars formed what they termed as a ghost group that really sieved a lot of money, like 50 million from government, and 3 of the leaders have been arrested. Currently, they are detained at the Central Police Station. That's one information that we want to update you on currently this morning. And we are yet to see whether these monies will be recovered, and also what steps will be taken against such people who just form their groups and they move on with the government money like that. And remember, government has been putting really so much stringent measures to curb this kind of syndicate corruption that happens in some of these systems. One of these methods was really in terms of withdrawal of these monies. Group leaders are supposed to write a requisition to the commercial officer seeking permission to withdraw money from their accounts, and this has been later on relaxed, and this is where we are heading to. So is it worth bringing back that method, or we are really ready to go with this relaxed procedure of picking money? And one of the reasons why this was relaxed was the issues to do with the time taken to really get these documents certified or maybe accepted for you to get a permission to start withdrawing monies. And that actually helped so much in curbing these issues of maybe group leaders siding, or some of them, a section of them, go and withdraw monies and use them for their own personal gains. Those were some of the reasons why really government took a step to put that I would say that condition of withdrawing monies. But now that this has been relaxed, and government believed that people already know themselves in these groups, and also they know the behaviors. It will be upon the associations to make recommendations that we need this much of money to be withdrawn, and also this is where we're going to use it. That was the real aim of really removing that kind of condition on those groups, and also to ensure that really money is used effectively in a specified period of time, because I'm meant to understand that because rains are down now, we have people planting crops. There are some people who venture into other businesses. This will be one way they will be able to really utilize the money effectively in a specified time, because rain comes and sometimes disappears. So there are few hours left for people to use the available rain, and that's why they really relaxed the condition. So this is an eye-opener to all the districts that are really implementing this program. I think there's no district in this country that is not implementing. So we can learn from that and see how really we could strengthen the circles in order to be vigilant of this kind of issues that will be arising. Because this was not realized on spot. It was realized after some time. That means there's a lot to do with the issues of sensitizing the people on detecting those kind of crimes being committed by their leaderships, and also the structures that are available to handle the issues of accounts. But away from that, there is also a very, very big issue that is happening in Yumbe district and also some parts of Moyo districts, where locals in specifically Kotsisa County and Kerwa that have been affected by the armed groups from South Sudan who have come into these sub-counties and evicted so many people with their guns and have settled on the land. This has affected like 6 parishes in the 2 districts. So this is one thing really leaders have to strengthen surveillance and also really move to see what is really happening, because we are all aware that the border between Uganda and South Sudan has up to date not been demarcated since the colonial time. That was a historical thing, and up to now we have been seeing so many meetings organized between the leadership of Uganda, specifically the Westnile region, and those in Central Equatorial State, about how really harmoniously people should be able to live across these boundaries. But up to now, it has not yielded much, as there were recommendations that were forwarded to the 2 heads of states of these 2 countries. So that is one thing really we need to look into. First of all, fast track the issue of the border demarcation. That should be one thing. Really, if you want to stop this kind of crimes. Remember, there have been a lot of issues, gunfire exchanges between the South Sudanese army and the UPDF of Uganda, because of the issues of sometimes the authorities from maybe the uncontrolled army from South Sudan comes into Uganda, loots people's animals and so on. Those were some of the crimes that have been so much cited. But also people's property, destroyed houses and so on. These were so much really things that have been coming up. According to the member of parliament, actually the woman member of parliament for Yumbe district, they are really fighting hard to ensure that really the head of state of this country is able to come down to this region to look into that issue. That is one statement from Avako Melissa, who is also the woman member of parliament for Yumbe district. She says efforts have been put in order to really fight hard to ensure that these over 6,000 people who have been displaced go back to their places, because currently people are not really farming in those areas, and also people cannot go back to sleep there. They are just sleeping with their colleagues, friends, and also relatives inside the Yumbe district headquarters and also other parts of the district. But also this has affected the livelihoods of the people. Looking at the issues to do with the insecurity, you know how hard it is when you are forced to move away from your place. For you to settle, it is another problem. But also the issues of livelihoods, the issues of maybe in terms of also these issues of how you accommodate yourself, how you receive treatment, what kind of food you eat, and also these issues to do with clothing, shelter, general. These are the things really people are asking government to really come to their rescue and also help them. These are the big stories that we have seen in this region that have continued really becoming so touchy that really need the attention of the government to intervene. But also, if you look at the councils of Yumbe and Moyo right now, they are fearing to really move to those areas because those are people displaced by armed officers. Remember, most of the leadership of these districts, most of them are not army officers. They are civilians who are politicians, but also we have security points, but the officers at these security points are not enough to really have that maybe cap such kind of crimes. But also these displacements happen most times at night. That is one thing we have noted, that it has really affected so much of the people in Yumbe district, specifically in those two sub-counties, but also parts of Moyo district, because of the security road that was constructed that has been termed to be the border between Uganda and South Sudan. So that is one thing. The leaderships, maybe this is at the presidential level, maybe the heads of states should be able to now come to harmonize this, because local governments do not have the mandate of demarcating international borders. It is either the two heads of states to sit down to iron up this. So that is one thing we have brought for you to just get a glimpse of what is happening currently in those areas across the borders. But also, if you look at, let's come to Arua City, if you look at the fight over the mast that has been raised on the Muhaddin Mosque, which is here situated in Arua City, there was a fundraising over the weekend that was maybe disrupted by a group of hooligans, youths purportedly brought by one of the factions in the Muslim fraternity that is said to be the Supreme Council, that the young people came and also disrupted the activities. We saw a lot of tear gas flying over the people and also being sprayed. That was because of the insecurity that was brought there. There are so many people moving with the weapons, talk about axe, panka, and so on, spade, and so on, those things, just to threaten the lives of other people. There were arrests made, and we're yet to get updates on how far this has gone. So it made this fundraising drive be called off because of that kind of fracas that came up. The issues in this have been much to do with the taxes that the mosque has been collecting from the mast that has been raised there. There are people who claim that this mosque belongs to them, and also it is the Supreme Council that is also saying we need this mosque under our docket. Okay, that faction of the Supreme Council, not really Chibuli. That's the fight. Right now, we are yet to get how many people were arrested and also how many really sustained injuries. This is what we are yet to bring for you in the subsequent news bulletins that we'll be having here on Westnile Television. So if you stick to Westnile Television, you'll be getting these interesting stories, updates, and also really things that are really happening in this region. That's where our focus is, and we want to inform you and light up the region by giving you the facts that we have really at hand, not really speculations, and also really giving you the authentic information that you should be able to believe in and also really take concerns about. If you are a policymaker, you should be able to see how to strategize and also amend policies to suit the interest of what you really want to achieve. But also those implementing the policies should be able to know where the loopholes are and also effectively address where necessary they should be able to go with. But also still within Arua City, we saw a lot of things happening towards the end of the week. Last week we saw the Pro Bono Day that was celebrated. Unfortunately, to my dismay again, this was an event that did not attract the attention of the city leaders, much as it was a regional thing. It was at home. The leadership of the city was not represented, apart from the local council, one chairperson of the area who came to address. That was really so unfortunate, because really the Pro Bono Day is there to educate all of us. For those of us who have challenges in accessing justice, this was one day that was dedicated for you to learn a lot of things to do with Succession Act, and also really how you should be able to get access maybe things that have been left by a deceased person. If you are a relative, how you should be, what kind of procedures you should be able to follow. Those are things you learn there. But also we have so many capital offenses that are in this country that continue to happen, and what are the procedures you are to follow in order to really succeed in this accessing justice in these areas. Those are things, the legal doubts that people have been having. That was one day that was organized for them to be cleared. And also the city leaders, we expected them to address the people about what is going on. And also there were efforts made by them to put grade 1 magistrate to at the city council hall, or maybe the former Royal Hill headquarters, that will be able to address the issues of littering, the issues of petty crimes that are happening all over the town, but also talk about the issues to do with roaming animals in the town. Those were the initiatives put by the city, and that was the day I expected them to address the people about this kind of developments. But unfortunately, none of the politicians were there. So this is one thing really we need to really impress. If we have activities in the city, why is it that the leadership of the city is not involved in most of these kind of things? Even if they're involved, they don't want to come to participate actively in them. Why is it that they really take their own pace to do things? That is one thing that really perturbs me so much, pertaining national events, regional events, also the local events that are organized within this city. So if it is a regional city, we expected the leadership of the city to welcome other districts to come and also have a feeling of the regional city. That is one thing really I so much felt it needed to be emphasized. And also really, if the leadership of the city is serious, they should take it up to really show to the region that really they are representing them in all aspects, and also really doing the needful of why they are put into those offices. Yes, that is one thing really we want to bring to your light. And also the Pro Bono Day continues as although the activities have stopped. This day we continue to remember it. That's why we are going to bring for you one of the legal officers attached to FIDA Uganda to really bring out some of the things that you missed on that day, and also talk about the access to justice. How easy or difficult is it? How cost effective is this if we are really accessing justice, and if defeated somewhere by maybe some of the events or maybe some of the issues that have really come to my attention? How should I report this kind of issues? What kind of evidences should I adduce for me to be successful in my court? What are the procedures for me to succeed to ensure that really this case is followed up to the logical conclusion, in order to really ensure that people believe in the justice law sector that we have in this country, and also really whether the courts of this country are doing to their best to ensure that really people are able to get what they wanted out of the court. We saw statements coming from the registrar's office that many people register cases and they don't follow up those cases. Those are the things we want to hear. What could be the limitations of people registering cases and also run away from following them up to the end? Those are the things we want to hear. And also really how cost effectively will people really access justice? These are the things we want to discuss in the subsequent discussions that we'll be having with the officer who will be here right away after a few minutes. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about other issues around the globe, but also within the region. Thank you for watching.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region. Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
A brand new Global Star TV with StarTimes Inside Technology. New TV innovation with an inbuilt decoder that connects you to both StarTimes antenna and satellite signal. With StarTimes Inside Global Star TV, you can enjoy over 300 local and international channels, 1 month StarTimes highest bouquet for free, automatic system update, more benefits, more affordable. StarTimes Inside Global Star TV is available in all StarTimes branches and dealers countrywide. StarTimes Inside, entertainment inbuilt.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that commercial break. We are discussing a lot of things about what has been happening in this region and what has continued to happen. One of the issues that is still trending is what I updated you about, the issues to do with the forceful eviction of the residents in the parishes, in the sub-counties of Kerwa and Kochi, that is in Yumbe district, and some parts of Moyo district that have been evicted across along the borders that have been pushed into the district, maybe headquarters, and those are the things we have been discussing, and really they need much attention from the heads of states to address those kind of issues of border and also insecurity that is really causing tension in Yumbe district and Moyo that is there. And maybe slightly away from that, we saw stories about the release of PLE pre-mock results by Madi and Westnile Diocese, where there are so many people who really out of 4,000 people who started pupils who sat for these exams, only 57 first grades were found in Westnile region. So this means a lot, but also the failure rate continues to be really huge, that close over 2,500 pupils failed completely. They were in U. So that means a lot. That means from P1 up to P7, all the 7 years, the teachers have been teaching nothing to these pupils. All the pupils have understood nothing from what the teachers have been teaching over the 7 years. So out of this, the people who are said to have passed from leave along the first graders, the number is only 1,000 something. So that means a lot. Out of 4,000, that means majority failed. If we were to take that, close to 60% failed. That means Westnile will have a long way to really cope up with other regions in this country in terms of education. That means we need to do a lot in championing education. We need to do a lot as OBs and OGs of these schools. If yours is among the 100 that sat, go and check whether the performance was so pleasing or it was not pleasing, and look at what really we need to do in relation to improving education in this region. But also looking at some of the issues around education and still understanding why this was really huge. One of the reasons that was being attributed is the infrastructure for the teachers. This has been one thing that came up clearly, that most of the teachers commute from their homes and they move to the schools lately. But also there are some teachers who prioritize going for engagements, like maybe talk about people doing maybe trainings, maybe representing the school. Most of the teachers like moving out so much. Others move to Kampala for their own reasons and so on. The rate of absenteeism among teachers has been very, very immensely witnessed by this kind of output. So there's a lot that the school management committees need to do in order to ensure that teachers' welfare is well addressed. Apart from the salary increments and also those other things, the issues of accommodation relies basically on the parents and also the PTA generally. They are supposed to really construct these accommodations for the teachers. So this is one thing they need to do, and also really looking at the issues of absenteeism without really viable reasons. This needed to be looked at by most of the stakeholders, especially the head teacher. The immediate supervisor is the head teacher, who is supposed to be on daily basis at the school. So these are things really they need to fast track. If the head teacher is a non-performer, there's need to really bring a new head teacher in that school and really reduce this to maybe a classroom teacher to ensure that effective supervision and monitoring of teaching and learning is effected, to ensure that really children learn the basics of what they are supposed to do. But also looking at the other aspects of learners absenting themselves but also failing to speak English up to P7. This is one thing that has been attributed to the thematic curriculum. Thematic curriculum has come in a way that from P1 up to P3, you are supposed to teach the pupils with their in their local language. So much as this is done in the local language, English remains English. English is also taught there. So that is one thing. Teachers are still facing a lot of rough kind of maybe modes of coping up with the really affecting English, spoken English and also written from the lower classes. But up to P6, if a pupil is not able to make a correct statement, really, it's so bad. It's so bad. So we need to move forward and really look at how really children are able to cope up with English and also the local language. I'm quite sure from homes, people teach a lot of the local language. Why should we really so much stretch in teaching Lugbara in schools? If we teach it, or maybe we put it like optional, and really it's just for the case of the learners who maybe came from places where they cannot really understand some of these local languages. But the core should be the English, because most of the exams come in English. That's one thing we need to look into very fast. But also looking at the issues of parents' attitudes towards facilitating the children in moving to schools. There are many parents who do not provide scholastic materials. Talk about the books, talk about even the uniforms and also shoes. Just buying for a child the shoes becomes a very challenging thing, because people prioritize drinks, people prioritize eating food, but they don't want to provide for the needs of these children. So if your child does not have a book, he or she may not concentrate in class, because all these things are to be jotted on the books. So that's one thing we need to focus so much into. All the stakeholders need to do their part in order to improve the academic performance in this region. Okay, still around the issues to do with the education, we saw over 6,000 midwives, students who were sitting in for the exams of the midwives and the nurses. This year really failed. That is one thing we need to also know, and that is still coming back to the issues of attitude and also the mode of delivering this kind of education. Let's take a break briefly. When we come back, we'll be able to answer in our guest and also discuss the issues that I had highlighted in relation to the access to justice by all those who need it. Thank you.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region. Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
A brand new Global Star TV with StarTimes Inside Technology. New TV innovation with an inbuilt decoder that connects you to both StarTimes antenna and satellite signal. With StarTimes Inside Global Star TV, you can enjoy over 300 local and international channels, 1 month StarTimes highest bouquet for free, automatic system update, more benefits, more affordable. StarTimes Inside Global Star TV is available in all StarTimes branches and dealers countrywide. StarTimes Inside, entertainment inbuilt.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region. Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
Right, welcome back from that commercial break. As I earlier on explained to you that we'll be having a guest discussing about the Succession Act and also dive into the issues of access to justice, whether really what are the issues, what are the limitations that people have in order to access justice in a very well-designed manner, but also looking at why is it that people always give up in accessing justice. Many times there are issues to do with the cost, there are issues to do with free services that are rendered, but also diversion of cases. There are so many things around this. Many people do not understand why sometimes cases are diverted, but also the issues of bails that are being granted. Many people do not understand some of these issues. We will be discussing briefly about some of these areas and also really be able to bring out clearly how really people will be helped around these areas. My guest is here in the studios. I have Minala Rehema from FIDA Uganda. She's a legal officer. She'll be able to tell us more about this. Maybe Minala, you're most welcome to Westnile Television Studios.
Thank you, Frederick. Good morning, listeners. As introduced, my name is Minala Rehema. I'm a legal officer with FIDA Uganda and I work here in Arua.
Okay, so that is her. We'll be discussing so much into, recently we had the Pro Bono Day that was here hosted in Arua City, but also there were a lot of issues that came up. One of these was people failing to understand how to really get the property of their deceased person, but also the issues of people sometimes taking the law into their hands in terms of distributing the things, the assets, the property of the deceased person, looking at a number of issues related to women and children denied access to some of the things left by the spouse who was maybe left them. This has been one of the things that have been discussed so much in the Pro Bono Day. Maybe, Rehema, let's pick it from there. What does this act say in relation to that? And why do you think this act is significant in relation to solving some of those issues?
Yes, thank you so much. Last week on Friday, we celebrated the annual Regional Pro Bono Day. This is a day that we celebrate every year. As lawyers, we come out to provide free legal aid services to the vulnerable people. And this is a must for every advocate to at least get one case or two and help people access justice free of charge. But then if you look at that side of it, as FIDA Uganda, we do that every other day. Our services are totally free of charge because we know down in the population there are people who need such services without a cost. Access to justice should be free, not paid for, not charged. That's why we are here to support our people. Last week, we had a pro bono day. The theme was mostly on succession. Yeah, because we realized there is a grave issue going around succession, and this is very common because the cases that are reported are in line with that, denial of property. And let me tell you, as we talk about the Succession Act, our mother law is the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. It's the 1995 Constitution.
Maybe before we go further, what does this Succession Act entail?
The Succession Act, as the word succession is, it actually helps someone understand how to deal with the estate of the deceased person. When a person dies, what do you do? Where do you go? What follows? So the Succession Act is in a way that it helps people understand how you succeed someone, how the property should be distributed, the procedures you should follow in order for you not to go astray with someone's property, the deceased property, who are the beneficiaries under the law. Yeah, not everyone is a beneficiary to a deceased estate. Now there are times when someone leaves a will. How does the law, like how do you go about to get the letters of administration? So it gives you the whole process of how you should move around to get the rightful way, the authority to distribute a deceased estate. It's not just a matter of waking up today and you say that so and so died yesterday, we are dividing his estate. It would be very wrong, and it's a common practice here because people think that's how things are done. No, we have a whole act that guides us besides the Constitution on how to deal with the estate of the deceased and who gets what, who doesn't get from the estate. So clearly that's what the Succession Act really does. Okay,
you've mentioned one thing to do with the will. There are many times people attribute writing a will to your preparedness to go to the grave. So maybe is that the same belief that we have with other people, or is that how best could we really come up with this issue of the will, to convince someone to write a will and also believe totally that she's still living much as she's writing the will?
Yes, I've heard that before. It's a common thing. People keep saying that if you write a will, it means you're about to die. No, that's not true. We've seen people writing wills, amending wills, because that will, it's good for you to write it as soon as you've attained some property. How that property will be distributed matters, because people end up fighting over these properties, and the rightful beneficiaries never benefit because of that. So it's very, very important to everyone listening there today. A will is a very important document that you should write, because it's something you write when you're still alive, when you're still sane, when you're in your rightful thinking mind. So if you don't do it at that time and you do it when you're very old, you could probably be influenced by something else. You have to be sober enough, and that is why I'm telling you that you need to write a will. It doesn't mean you're going to die immediately. You write it. You'll even live longer because you'll work hard. Like you put in more efforts to like keep changing your will, right? You amend it, you add things to your estate. So
how should I write a will? What are the things that are contained in a will, and how do I start writing a will? And also having this will written, how do I keep it? Because there's a tendency that maybe if you have not written the name of my wife to be maybe the person ahead of these things, once she sees that document, it can become like a threat to me. It can finish me there and then. So how should I write a will, and also how should I safeguard it?
First of all, on how you should write a will, yeah? You need to be, like I said, in the best state of mind. You should be sane. You should be at least 18 years and above, and you should know what you are doing, yeah? To write that will, you should be fit. That's the best thing I can say. So the contents of the will, of course, you have to talk about yourself and where you're from. There's that introductory part of who is writing the will. Then there's that part of the property, your estate. You write each and every property that you have in that will so that it will be easily distributed. Do not write what is not yours, because it may invalidate the will. Write only what belongs to you and you know it is yours, including even the money on your account. You indicate it there. Thirdly are your beneficiaries. Write all your children. There's this tendency of saying children born outside the wedlock, maybe with a woman other than your wife, yeah? They are not your children. You have to write those children because they are all beneficiaries under the estate. Write your dependent relatives. These are people you've been taking care of keenly, and they are also entitled to the property when you die, you get? So these are the things that you should never miss out. Your properties, where they are, your children, where they are, your wives, where they are, and how you want this property to be distributed. It's upon you to decide how you want who to get what, you get? So if you keep doing that, like every time you get more property, you add it there, or if you sell off some, of course you also have to amend the will until that time when you can't do it anymore. So it's important to keep the changes. And then the part of where to keep the will, there are people you can trust. Before you even go there, there's that part of that, the validity of the will. As you're writing the will, yeah, there should be witnesses. You need 2 witnesses who will sign.
Where do you get these witnesses from?
These should not be the people, like they should not be among the people you included in your will. Yes, so meaning you should get people usually use LCs or they are lawyers, but you need 2 witnesses who are not part of the beneficiaries. Imagine putting your son as a witness. He has already known what you've written. Do you know what he can do for you to change everything you've written there? So it's very important to have someone who is neutral, someone who will not interfere with the estate, and keeping this will should be with someone you trust most. People keep their wills in the banks, and you know why. There's security there. People keep their wills with their lawyers. It's important. So you get someone you trust the most. At least make 3 copies of these wills. Keep with 3 different people.
Okay.
Yes, that's very important, because at the time of death, they will call out people. If anyone has the deceased's will, let him come forward. So you'll see people coming out with wills, others will hide them. But the other one who will hide may hide, but the other person, remember you've given 3 people, the rest will come out and say this is the will, and the will, like it should be the same. Imagine 3 copies, the same content. So this is to avoid circumstances of saying, the deceased did not leave a will, when we are sure that the deceased left a will.
Who benefits in this will? May the writer or the people who are...
The will takes effect upon death. So you, the writer, you do not benefit from your will, because it's not a will until you've died. That's the point. So if the person has not died, it's just a document. Until the person dies, then it becomes a will. And so when it becomes a will, they have to deal with it the way it is. So the documents, the beneficiaries under that will are the people who benefit from the will.
All right. If you're watching us, this is Westnile Television, the KOKOLIRIKO show, every Monday to Friday, that we bring you a lot of issues that are happening in this region, but also really focus on touching issues that may benefit anyone across the world. So we are discussing about the Succession Act and also the issues in it, how really people can really be able to utilize this act, and also how best really people will be able to access justice through this kind of laws that have been brought in. But maybe before we go further, and also before we go for a break, are people aware about this Succession Act in your own perception or on your assessment? Because it seems to be one of the frequently violated acts in this country. Well,
if I'm to gauge out of 10, I would say 6% are aware.
Okay.
But the thing is, people, there's a high level of illiteracy. That one we can't deny. And these laws are not that they are distributed anywhere and that people can access them whenever they want. So looking at our people here, I will tell you that many of them just hear about these things, but they don't even have access to the acts. So it's upon us to tell them the contents of the acts, because we can also not go and distribute to everyone and say this is the Succession Act. What if they don't know how to read? So these acts, they are translated ones, but accessing them is still a problem. So we are talking about access to justice, and among the things is to provide those things, those books and the acts to the people so that they can read and understand them. So we need to do a lot of sensitization, and at least if they can't have the acts at hand, they can have the knowledge through our teachings, and this is one of the ways we appreciate.
Okay, so maybe to finalize the issues to do with the act, maybe how has this really bridged the gap between the family conflicts that have been there in this in different years and also up to date? We have continued to see this coming. Are there cases of violation of this act? Are there things that you think maybe some cases that you've handled that could prove that this law is really working?
Well, yeah, that is there. The cases are there. There are quite a number. And maybe that I can't really dig deep into them because of the confidentiality bit, but those cases are there. Situations where like widows are left with nothing when their deceased husbands left a lot of property, because the family thinks when the man dies, every property goes to them, like it goes back to the family. And this is especially the brothers. They stand up and say, you are no longer part of us. That's what they tell the widows, and it's so disheartening because these widows are the same people who move around with the children of the deceased, and they suffer equally.
So it doesn't happen to widowers?
Widowers, it's not common. It's not common with widowers, but yes. I cannot say it doesn't happen because it happens. But I want to tell you, mostly men don't come out to report. I don't know why, but they tend not to come out. And it's something which is not good because they sit on their rights. These rights
because
that
women are empowered, maybe we may
men are also empowered.
Sure.
But women, women, the part that we keep encouraging each other to always stand up, maybe that leaves out the men, but we know men already empowered. Yeah? Okay. Men always have to come out and speak for themselves because these properties, at times, they are developed by both spouses. So by the time one of the spouses dies, their contribution in that property could be immense. And if you don't come out to claim for your right, then the family will just decide this is for our daughter. And then the man is left out. So it's about us, like people should come out. Yeah, on the violation of the act, of course, many people don't know the procedures. They don't know how to go about that.
Let's move to that procedure. What are the higher things that needed to be followed in accessing maybe the property of the deceased person? Because you told us that if you move and maybe start possessing some of this property that have been left by the deceased person without maybe the court knowing, it is illegal, and you can be also sued and also maybe taken to prison at some moment. Maybe what are the procedures that people can really legally acquire some of this property?
Okay, yes, thank you. Looking at, like we talked about wills, there are people who don't leave wills. And that is where most of the estates are damaged or maybe mishandled, especially when there is no will. Where there is a will, it's easier. It's more like a shortcut, but then the procedure still, the part of the procedure stays, yeah? So when a person dies, the family, after the mourning, of course we don't expect someone to run immediately to start processing letters and what, unless it's urgent. But if a person dies like that after the mourning, like the procedure starts with getting a death certificate from NIRA. The family, of course, they have to move there and get a death certificate, register death, because there has to be a proof of death. You may distribute someone's property when they are in Sudan and they have been there for years and you think they are dead. No, there has to be proof. So when you get a death certificate, you move straight to the office of the Administrator General. That is where you open a file for the deceased estate. The file comes in the name of the deceased. So where you reach there, usually the Administrator General calls for a meeting or meetings. Yeah, the meetings are for the family. They call for the deceased. They write out letters inviting them to come for a meeting. If it can't be handled at the Administrator General's office, there is always the Chief Administrative Officer who takes on that, and also sometimes they delegate to their town clerks or parish chiefs. So it's about delegation. But the point here is that those meetings, the family meetings, have to happen In the meetings, they decide on which properties belong to the deceased, and if there are any that were not included when they were opening the file, they always come out in the meetings. Then the children of the deceased, they all come out, the dependent relatives, the wives, the spouses, they all have to come out in that meeting, and then they choose the administrators. So they propose people they want to choose as administrators, like to manage the estate of the deceased, people they feel can do it, can be trusted. And these people should be 18 years and above, should be of sound mind. So from there, the Administrator General grants the certificate of no objection. That's the certificate that is taken to court. You go to court, then file a petition for letters of administration or letters of probate for those who have the will. You file it at court, attach the documents, the deceased's photo is a must. So the registrar or chief magistrate then looks through the documents and signs a notice. That notice is supposed to be published in the newspaper of wide circulation. Sometimes it's Daily Monitor, other times it's New Vision, but it has to be published. So that notice is put there with a deceased's photo, and it gives any person who wishes to object 14 days to come out and say, no, I object to this application. So if no one comes out, it's believed that they are all okay with these letters of administration, with the whole process. And usually, if someone is like not involved in the whole process, they would be like, and they know they are beneficiary. Like, for example, you're seeing your father's estate being advertised, and you are not involved in the whole process of the meetings and what, then you can run to court and object. You say, me, I object to this petition of letters of administration. So the registrar will have to hear that person, why are you objecting, before granting the letters. So that's the thing that happens there. Also, if there is no objection, the process moves smoothly. After that, after the 14 days, they are given a date for identification. The identification is for the applicants, the people they are appointed as administrators. Usually there are 3, 2, and rarely 1. Okay. Yes, so after the identification, that's when they come with their identity cards. The IDs, the national IDs, then they identify them just to confirm if you are the person that is on the paper that was appointed. Then there are usually some sureties that stand in to say, yeah, these are the people, we are going to stand behind them. If they don't manage the estate well, there's a fine. Yes, there is a fine on the administrators for mismanaging the estate, and also a fine on the sureties, just to make sure the estate is managed. So the letters of administration are usually granted at that point. But they like to have, the registrars and chief magistrates like to have the beneficiaries there, like children. Do you know these people? Like such, it's more like an interview to make sure the estate is not mismanaged. So that if the letters are granted, the people can now go ahead and distribute the estate. Okay. Yes. So in terms of distribution, who gets the lion's share? And how much is apportioned to these beneficiaries? There is a percentage. I would not want to be so exact, but there is a percentage that if you realize, these people usually have their heir. Like you appoint someone who will, of course, be your heir, like stand in for your estate. That one gets just 1%. Then there's a percentage. There's 20% for the spouse. Yeah, the spouse, the surviving spouse. So if there are 3, now I'm looking at our Islamic way. If there are 3, 4, they will still share that same percentage. Yes, there is that percentage for them. Then so the children. 75 will remain for the children. There is children, dependent relatives, spouse, and the heir. So that's how they distribute. But at the end of the day, there's supposed to be a percentage that is supposed to be there for taking care of the family, because you cannot distribute everything and live like that. Then the matrimonial house. There's that matrimonial house, like where the deceased was living with the wife. That house is supposed to remain for the surviving spouse and the children. Okay. But if the surviving spouse gets married to someone else, she has to leave the house. Okay.
You cannot bring the man here in this house
No,
again.
you cannot do that.
All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll be able to discuss about so many issues to do with capital offenses that are on the rise, but also looking at the issues of drug abuse that are increasing so much. We show the Constitutional Court annulling the Narcotic Drug and Substance Act that was there to really help us to prevent some of these things. But now that the law is not there, as a lawyer, what is happening there? And also, how are you really tackling the issues to do with these crimes that are related to the drugs and substance abuse? Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be able to dive into some of those issues. Thank you.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
A brand new Global Star TV with StarTimes Inside Technology. New TV innovation with an inbuilt decoder that connects you to both StarTimes antenna and satellite signal. With StarTimes Inside Global Star TV, you can enjoy over 300 local and international channels, 1 month StarTimes highest bouquet for free, automatic system update, more benefits, more affordable. StarTimes Inside Global Star TV is available in all StarTimes branches and dealers countrywide. StarTimes Inside, entertainment inbuilt.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that commercial break. We're discussing a lot of things to do with the Succession Act, how you should be able to process a document that will give you the permission to access the properties of the deceased person, how it is supposed to be shared, and what are the procedures you have to follow. Those were the things we're able to bring for you to light to understand some of those things. Maybe away from that, let's talk about the escalating capital offenses that are happening here in this region. But also, you remember during the recent few weeks of last month, there were a lot of stories that we ran about murder, the stories about land conflicts, there are stories about maybe putting injunctions, and people were not understanding why sometimes even people who have committed some of these offenses are at some point given bail, but also why sometimes some of these cases take long to be handled. Those are things we want to really dive into with our lawyer here who is in the house. Rehma, maybe let's move into this. What do we understand by these capital offenses, and how why is it that they are becoming prevalent in this region?
Thank you. In brief, understanding capital offenses, I would say these are the gravest offenses of offenses. They are the ones that carry the highest punishments, and they are offenses handled by High Court. Yes, High Court here is like okay, it's just the way it is, the higher court of jurisdiction. So on their prevalence, there could be so many reasons why these offenses are really becoming prevalent, looking at murder, looking at aggravated defilements, looking at rape. These cases are quite common, and to have a just perspective of why they could be common is, I think, the high rate of drug abuse. Because it only takes a person who is not in the right state of mind, like a sober person, to do such a thing, and this is so disheartening for me to be talking about, because it's happening. We cannot deny it, and in the communities we hear, we see, even in the news.
True. Okay, if you talk about the drug abuse being one of the critical causes, or maybe one of the issues that are aiding some of these capital offenses, we saw the Constitutional Court scrapping off the law that is there to regulate the use and also production of these drugs. in this country. Now that we don't have any law in relation to that, how are you people as lawyers charging people in violation of some of these kind of acts, much as it is not, the law is not there? How are you handling some of these issues?
Thank you. There is a law. There was a law before the narcotics law. There was a law, it's the National Drugs Authority. It's actually more severe. Yeah, so currently it's the law under which people are being charged for the offense of possession of narcotics and possession and consumption of narcotics. So there is a law. That's why even up to now there are people who are being taken to court for that. Otherwise we wouldn't. By the way, you cannot charge someone for an offense that doesn't exist.
True, true.
Yeah. So for example, if the narcotics law was scrapped off and currently there is no law, they wouldn't charge anyone for that. So there is a legality principle. So everyone you charge, there must be a law under which. So currently there is a National Drugs Authority law under which we are proceeding.
Maybe what does the law say? Because many people do not know about that law. They seem to be understanding only the narcotics drugs, just like where I believed that there's no law now in this country. Yes.
They are quite similar. Of course, it prescribes the offense, because to make it an offense, it has to be prescribed. And of course, you look at the ingredients of why it becomes an offense, and there's a punishment. So the law is just as same as the other law, but I'm saying this is more severe. That's why they had brought in the narcotics law, like to quite tame it down. So if for anyone consuming or being found in just mere possession of narcotic substances, you become a criminal. You can be charged for it. Okay. So it's the same way. So there's nothing like there's no law. People should be very careful and by the way avoid consumption of these narcotics. They are not a good thing.
Okay, many times the issues to do with capital offenses tend to take longer in terms of handling the cases, but also it takes a lot of cost in following up these cases. Maybe why is it that capital offenses seem to take longer time in handling the cases than these other petty crimes that are handled by other courts?
Okay. For the capital offenses, just like I said, they are handled by High Court. So High Court doesn't sit like to hear criminal cases like every day, but the lower courts do. So these petty offenses like theft, malicious damage, and threatening violence, criminal trespass, these ones are handled by the magistrates' courts. So these ones sit every day. They can hear these cases every day. So that's why they are easily disposed of. And if someone pleads guilty, even faster, the case can be concluded in a day. But in High Court, these cases must go through committal. Committal process is where the person is produced before the magistrate's court. They are told, they read to them the charges, the case, like they explain to them, but they are not allowed to say anything like saying I did it or I didn't do it. So they don't plead. The plea comes in High Court. So they are told you need not say anything. You say it in High Court. You get? So now that time between the committal and when High Court will sit is the issue. And also the committal process at times takes longer because with capital offenses you have to be sure on investigation. By the time you push the case to High Court, your investigations are complete. We don't want to make mistakes. Yes, so by the time the case moves to committal process and to High Court, it is complete. So High Court sits in sessions. Yes, criminal sessions. Like they don't sit even every month. It depends on the number of cases also. And these cases are not that many that High Court can sit on a monthly. So the judge has to like have a session where these people are given lawyers, because in capital offenses, every suspect is entitled to a lawyer. It's one of their rights. Yeah. So they have to prepare all that, and there is a budget because they have to, like, sometimes NGOs come in and help, sometimes it's solely on the government. So there are financial implications for these criminal sessions. That's why they don't sit every now and then. In a quarter, they could sit once. That's why there is a delay.
So, talk about the issues of criminal trespass into a land and so on. These have been termed to be also sometimes capital offenses, based on what has happened in the criminal trespass kind of things. There are so many people who have been crying, especially those who will want to develop their land, that these cases take long, and also sometimes because of the cost of transport, moving, following up these cases. These have been some of the challenges they have been facing. Maybe how could those people really believe that these cases will be handled and also have trust that they can follow them to the conclusion?
Okay, with a criminal trespass, for it can't really be a capital. Usually I also have a problem with the criminal trespass cases, because usually there is a claim of right. The other person will claim you came onto my land, and there should be that part of coming onto the land to annoy, like to cause discomfort to the other person.
Like somebody comes with a punker threatening, I'll kill you and so on. You see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the normal trespass to land is a civil matter. And yes, as you said, civil matters take long, because there's that whole process of bringing witnesses. At times you're ready with your witnesses, then one of them is sick, and at times they don't even turn up at all. So there's a whole process with civil matters. But also if the parties are serious, it cannot take that long. Because if you bring your witnesses on time, we usually use even witness statements where both sides have lawyers. You just file in your witness statements, you come in to cross-examine, and it takes like less time. So we are using that to try and reduce on how much time we spend in court on land cases, so that people can have their properties utilized. Like you said, usually there is an injunction. On the land matters move with injunctions, because we cannot be in court here trying to fight for the land and then someone else is there busy doing something on it. What if they sell it? So if it changes the relevance of the cases, like they change direction. So there has to be an injunction to maintain the status quo of that land, like to leave it the way it is. The people there can keep utilizing it, but don't change its format, don't add anything on it, don't sell it. Let it remain the way it is as of that point of view. So that's why at times I feel land cases take long, because of our seriousness as witnesses to come and testify, to come and give in our evidence, because it's a whole process.
Okay, now that we are left with a few minutes, I want us to wind up with this discussion on the issues to do with case diversion. At what point are cases to be diverted, and how relevant are these methods of diverting cases?
This case diversion is usually done before it reaches court. So it can be done at any point before court. It can be done at community level. It can be done at police, but commonly at police. So this case diversion, of course, at times when the complainant and the accused have a discussion about it, and like, for example, theft, like, you stole this and we've recovered it, and also maybe pays something on top of that, that case can not go to court. Because why else would it be going to court? It has been resolved and these people have agreed. Reconciliation is also a part of this whole thing. So most importantly, case diversion is used for children, because we understand their nature. Imagine growing up and you already have a criminal record. It's not a good thing, and we usually encourage like case diversion for their children, so that these cases can be handled at community and police level, so that they don't cross to court. When they cross to court, it remains a mark on the child or on the accused, even if it's an adult. So it's very relevant to reduce on the case backlog. One of the relevance of the case of the diversion is that, because you realize the judicial officers have so many cases to handle. Just like we are saying, cases are delaying in court. Yes, they are delaying for so many reasons, because there is a lot of work there. You cannot really blame them. They are doing their work. Really, they are. Every day you'll sit in court, you try visiting court, you'll see how busy that day is, but someone will tell you their case is not moving. But the cases are moving. At times they don't even turn up for their own cases. Complainants will complain, take someone to court and disappear. And that's common with children. Their complainants never come to court, and you realize, like, you be like, why would you bring someone to court and you don't come to testify, just to waste their time? If you don't testify, the case will not move until at some point when we realize the child has overstayed, then we pray that the case be dismissed for want of prosecution.
Okay.
So you talked about something like bail. I would want to put that thing of bail out because people think if someone is released on bail, the case has ended. No, it never ends at bail, even at bond. Bond is at police. It's more like bail, but bond is at police, where that person keeps reporting until the case is moved to court. Then from there, of course, they are first taken to prison. When they are taken there, then they can apply for bail at that very first hearing or the next. But with bail, the case doesn't stop. The person is merely asking court to allow them to move from home, but they have to attend every single hearing, because if they miss, they are going to rearrest them and bring them back.
Okay.
So yes, bail is a constitutional right. People have different reasons why they want to move from home, why they need bail. Some have families, some have illnesses. There's those complications that they cannot handle being at prison. And also sometimes these are school-going children. For the case of children, they can be reporting on the days when they are supposed to go to court, but staying in custody sometimes delays so many things. So
all right, let's wind this discussion with your concluding remarks, and then we move on to the news in Liberty shortly.
Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Westnile TV, for this opportunity. I would love to wind up with the first topic, which is succession, and this is to encourage people to take up their right to property under Article 26 of the Constitution. And this right usually goes to the deceased family, the children, the wives, the dependent relatives, but especially the children and the spouses. They should take up this responsibility. Do not leave the property to be wasted in the hands of people who are not even supposed to benefit from it. The spouses, the women, stand up for that, because the woman who has a marriage certificate even doesn't need to go to the Administrator General's office. She just needs to go straight to court. It makes it easier. Protect the estate, and for the family, stop misusing the estate of the deceased, because they have their beneficiaries just like you have yours. So my advice is clearly that people should not let other people's children suffer because of their greed for the property. Help them understand the process. If they are young, help them grow. When they make 18, let them take charge of the property of their fathers or mothers. Yes.
All right, that does it for the Monday edition for the KOKOLIRIKO show. That has been all that we have been unpacking for you, starting from the local issues that were happening in this region, and also the issues to do with the law, what needed to be done. And you have heard it from the rightful officer that there's a lot to do with the Succession Act, and also really practically how people should be able to utilize some of these available laws to behave in a well-defined manner, not really to be in conflict with the law. So that is it. We are moving out of the studios. Up next, we'll be having the news in Liberty with Fete Emmanuel. We thank you for having joined us and also participating, and also by watching the television, you are able to get the message and also passing it to the next person who has not really participated in this. We thank you for that. Let's meet again tomorrow in the same show and also the same time.